How's it going? This is Hoiman, and today we're taking a look at the S.H.Figuarts Cure Amour figure. So this still continues the dark age of the Figuarts Precure figures, and this is a web exclusive figure, but you don't get a window to see the figure inside, but the packaging does have a nice premium feel to it, similar to a mobile phone box, and it has that really nice soft and textury feel, whereas the image of the figure is slightly embossed. And this continues to the top as well, with the pictures on the top, both sides, and then you have legal stuff on the bottom, and in the back you have more pictures of the figure. And then to open the box, just lift open the side flap, and then lift open the front cover. And there's the figure all together with her accessories. So first you do get some instructions showing what the figure comes with and how to operate the accessories. So here's the actual figure, and I'll say it right now, but this figure ain't great. And I'll get to that in a bit, but for now, the sculpt does look really nice. It does look like the character a lot, and for the most part, the paintwork is very nice and clean, and again, the sculpt is just very complex and does look nice overall. So looking at the face, I feel that they have captured the likeness of the character really well. It looks just like her, and then you move on to the hair. It's a nice matte purple finish, and then you've got the fringe with the sculpt, and then you have these long trails here, and they are softer material, so you don't have to worry too much about those breaking. And you have the side parts, which are nicely sculpted, but they are quite solid, so they do feel very fragile, so you have to be careful of them. And then moving to the back, it's really nicely sculpted up here, and then down to the really long wavy hair, which does look really nice. It's nicely sculpted with all the different strands and layers, and then the thinner parts on the sides are softer material. And you can see some darker shades in between the layers as well. And it's even sculpted nicely underneath as well. And then you have the bows on the top, nicely sculpted. And I do like the use of the translucent part for the blue ribbon. Adds a nice effect to the figure. And then moving down to her outfit, again, nicely sculpted. The tie here is a solid piece, so you have to be careful you don't break that. And then the pouch here has a nice glossy finish, whereas the rest of the figure has a nice matte finish. So the sleeves are really nicely sculpted. And then the paintwork for the most part is very clean. And in the skirt, you see all the different layers in the sculpt. And there's like darker shades in the white to add more depth. And then you have the nice zigzaggy lines of the skirt, and again the paintwork is pretty clean for the most part. And you have her back skirt here as well. You see the different layers, and then overall it is nicely sculpted. And then the underside, you can see all the layers in the skirt as well. And then down to the legs. For the most part, they are very nicely sculpted and detailed, but the paintwork does look a little bit sloppy on the purple lines. So for articulation, the neck is on a single ball joint, so she can look down about that much, but because the hair is a solid piece, it is quite heavy, so although the head can handle the weight of the hair, it's still really back heavy, so she's going to have difficulty balancing on her own. And then she can look up about that much, and then she can tilt her head side to side as well as twist. And then for the shoulders, it's on a ball joint, so you can move the arm about however you like, and it has a pull out method as well, so that allows for a bit more range, but it does become quite loose. It's also on a hinge, so you can bring her arm out to the side. You can bring her arm forward, bring her arm back. She has the bicep swivel, as well as the single jointed elbow, and then she has the ball jointed wrist. And again, Bandai continues to use really thin ball joints for these Precure figures. Like, if I just show you, like, look at that. That is just super, super thin, and that can break really easily. And I just don't really understand why Bandai is using such thin joints. They must know that they're just not sturdy, so you just have to be extremely careful of those, especially with this figure in particular. Moving on to the torso, it's on a ball joint, so she can lean forward not really a whole lot because the tie hits against the pouch, but she can lean back that much, lean side to side as well as twist, so overall it's quite restricting. And then down to the skirt is actually a floating piece, and it is a softer material that's divided into two segments, so that allows for leg articulation. So the waist is on the ball joint, so you can move them about however you want, and then also twist. And then each leg is on a ball joint, so she can kick about that far to the side, kick forward that much, kick back that much, and then thigh swivel, and then single jointed knee. And then she has the ball jointed ankle, so you can go back that much, forward that much, tilt side to side as well as twist. And then the back piece of the skirt, it's on a ball joint, so you can move it to the back and then to the side as well, and then also twist. So she has all the articulation you'd expect a Figuarts figure to have, and even more so because of the pull out shoulders and then the extra joint for the skirt. So you should be able to get most of the poses you'd want, and I use the word mostly very lightly, and I'll get to that in a bit. But for now, that's the figure. Let's take a look at the accessories. For faces, she comes with a default smiling face, a similar face but just with her eyes looking to the right, and then a similar face but with her mouth opened, and then an angry shouting face. For hands, she comes with a pair of fists, and then a rack of various hands. So one pointing hand, two hands to hold her weapons, two open palmed hands, two chopping hands, and then two more posing hands. She comes with a main weapon, nicely sculpted and detailed. And I do like the use of the translucent parts here. And then this piece can be removed, so that you can swap it out with this piece. She also comes with Hugtto, really nicely sculpted and detailed, has some nice shading going on in the hair, and she does have the ball joint so you can move her head about. And then she also comes with a display base, which is absolutely needed for this figure. So my final thoughts are, like I said, this is the dark age of the Figuarts Precure figures. So Bandai opted to use kind of cheaper materials to create these figures and kind of gave us less accessories as well. So overall, the build quality of the figure does feel a bit cheaper, and the hair especially, it feels kind of rubbery, and overall it does feel cheaper than the previous Precure figures. They don't feel extremely cheap to the point that it feels like a knockoff figure, but you can definitely tell that they do feel lower budget and cheaper. And then the overall build quality of the figure is kind of all over the place as well. Like, my main gripes with the figure is that her front part of the hair easily pops off. So that makes it really frustrating to play around with the figure. Some of the joints, okay, so the torso joints, so her upper half of the joints, they're pretty nice and tight and sturdy, but my main gripe comes with the legs. This just makes the figure just really unbearable most of the time. Like, if you look just how loose her legs are, and because of that, and with the added weight of the hair, she can't support her own weight. She'll always topple back no matter how you pose her. And it's not just the legs, but the waist is relatively loose as well, so it just makes posing her really difficult. But my biggest gripe with this figure is her left leg. Like, if you just look at those, you can see how this left leg is just absolutely bent this way. And that's not because of the joint, but the sculpt itself. So whatever reason, how this joint plugs into her thigh here, the hole is sculpted at an angle rather than going straight up. So this forces the joint to be at an angle. And because of the way the knee is sculpted, it really further forces the leg to one side. So it almost looks like she has a broken leg. And it's just permanently always at an angle. So if I try to straighten out the legs, you can just see how bent that is. And that makes her standing extremely difficult. And with the added looseness of the hips and the heavy hair, it just makes this figure impossible to stand on her own. And I just have no idea what Bandai was thinking. Like, they must have noticed this massive issue with the sculpt of the leg during the prototype stages of the figure. So how Bandai decided to ship the figure as it is with this huge flaw in the leg just boggles my mind, really. So because of these main issues, the really loose joints in the hips, the really oddly defected sculpt in the leg, some flaws in the paint job, the use of cheaper materials for the hair, it just really detracts this figure overall and just doesn't make this figure fun to pose. And with the lack of accessories, there's not really a whole lot of poses you can do either. And with the hands that she comes with, they can't really hold her weapon all that well. So it just, I don't know what Bandai was thinking with this figure. It almost feels like they rushed this figure out, which I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but it's just the impression I've got. So because she is a web exclusive figure as well, she's very pricey, and for the amount of money you pay to get this kind of figure with such obvious flaws and defects, it really detracts the figure, and it really detracts buyers as well. But if you are a fan of this character or the show, then, I mean, if you want to complete the team of the Hugtto Precure figures, then sure, get this figure. But if you're just a fan of this particular character, then I don't know if I can really recommend her. She's just got a lot of flaws and defects that it makes it really hard for even fans to kind of appreciate this figure. But again, it's up to you if you want to get this figure, but just keep in mind of the potential flaws that I've mentioned. But that's my review. Thank you for watching and enjoy some pictures.